Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. On today's video, we're going to be going over how we can make stabs and pluck type sounds. We're going to be using Vital for this video. So today's just going to be a quick video showing you a few techniques that you can bear in mind when trying to create these type of sounds. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Here we go. Okay, so here we have an initialized preset. So we're going to be using the saw wave, which is our default preset when we open up Vital. And let's go into the envelope one first. Now, this is probably the most important thing that you're going to do when making these type of sounds. So we know that a stab or a pluck sound is quite short. It starts very loud and gets quiet very quickly. So your envelope one inside of Vital is your amplitude envelope. This means that it controls the volume of the sound, therefore shaping the sound. So we have the attack here at the beginning. By moving this to the right, we can start very quiet and get louder, or we can start very loud, which is what we want for a stab. We then have the sustain along the top. By having the sustain all the way up, this means when we press a key, the key will keep playing until we release it. Once we have released it, that note will stop playing, and if we add a release, it's going to have a tail at the end when we release the key, almost like a reverb. But we don't want sustain for this because we want a plucky, stabby sound. So we know we want the key to just end very quickly, even when we're holding it down still. So to do that, we've removed the sustain and we now need to play with the decay. If I press this key and hold it down, you'll probably hear it's a bit too long. Okay, so we play with the decay in order to shorten the amount of time it takes going from loud to zero. And now we get much better. So that's the basics of making a stab and a pluck sound. Once you've got your shape to your sound sorted, you can then start to look at other things in the sieve to create the sound and make it more interesting. So remember, you can use these as modulators as well. So envelope 2 and envelope 3 are purely for modulation, whereas envelope 1 controls the shape of the sound and can be used for modulation. So let's say we wanted to modulate this filter here. Let's bring the resonance down a bit. We'll leave a little bit of resonance here. We'll set this envelope 1 to the cutoff here, and then we end up with, and we get stuff like that. Okay, still not very pretty, the sound. So in order to add a bit more character to this sound, let's just remove the filter from the minute so we can hear what this does exactly. There's the note as it is, as default, but we can start adding some voices. So let's make this 5, for example. We start to get these. And this is where we start to go into kind of like that dance floor sort of territory. For example, we can add another one of these, make this like the same kind of voices, but this time let's like detune it like by 7, for example, this one, and we get. We could also, for example, put this on like 3, for example, and then we turn this one on as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a chord here. So now let's make this like 7, and then we've got a basic sort of triad chord here, and we end up with. This kind of sound. The more we move this down, you can then go into the effects, obviously, and when we start adding effects to this, like we add some reverb to this to put those off a bit. You can get those kind of deep, plucky, spacious sounds. Kind of reminds me of the Ivy Labs 20 Questions tune, that kind of pluck. So it can be used in that kind of stuff. It's also kind of ravey sort of sound as well. So now let's just have a go at one more type of sound. Let's go for more techie kind of pluck sound. So let's use this one once again. Let's go and put a bit of low pass on here, which will create this kind of shape, place with the harmonics a bit there. Let's add this one on here, but we have them both on 0. Let's just push up the voices a bit, maybe 30. Let's try that, and that will do. Then we end up with this. We get that, but let's play with the filter here. So what we're going to do, which is quite important here, and this is quite a classic technique, we're going to use the notch filter here. You're going to hear how this affects the sound. So we can get those nice filtered out kind of pluck sounds which sound a bit more techy. We could also remove this, for example, and just use the key tracking instead here. We end up with these. So you can see it's a bit quiet as well, so we could push the volume and also go into the effects, and let's add a distortion first. And then let's go into the compressor, but we'll put the compressor after the distortion here. And let's turn the highs down a bit because it might be a bit harsh on the highs. Turn the mids up a little bit. And then we'll control this a bit by adding EQ here and removing some of that low end so it's not so harsh on that frequency. We can also play around with this cutoff here. So if we press shift and drag this macro over onto the cutoff, you'll see it goes both ways. Remember to put this on 5 though, so that it starts from the original position. And then this macro is just going to allow us to play around with this cutoff point. So we get stuff like this. Okay, and that's kind of like a Teky pluck or stab sound. Remember, this can be applied to lead sounds, so if you play the keys up high, you're going to end up with more lead style plucks and stabs. You could also go really low down on the keyboard and start playing kind of more stabby basses as well. So much you could do with this, but I just wanted to share with you guys the main principle for creating this sound, which really is all based around this envelope here. By creating this envelope here, you're shaping your sound, and we've already got the type of sound we want, and then it's all about tuning that sound and making it sound more interesting. One other thing we could do when making stabs is you also have this option as well, where we could just drag this up a bit. Once you've done this, you'll find that you'll need to move back the decay as well, because it will now be too long. It will be like this. I want it to be shorter again, so and then okay, so a few little tips there for you guys in order to set you on the right path for making stabs and pluck sounds. Experiment with the keys that you play, the chords that you use, and try and play around with the wave types as well. As I said at the beginning, we're only using the saw wave, the default wavetable here. Try using different wavetables and you'll find you'll get different results as well. For example, a square wave is going to give you more kind of bell type sounds. Sine waves can give you a nice type of like organy, stabs and plucks, etc., etc. So have a play, guys, see what you come up with. I hope you found this helpful. Until the next one, take care of yourselves and peace.